this is the second project that we're going to do. We're going to do a simple interior scene, much like the first one, but a little bit more advanced. Now, we're going to start up our Max project by doing the same as we did before, going to each of the viewports and changing it from wireframe to default shading. We're going to make sure that our units are set at US standard with decimal inches. And this time, we're going to go ahead and give it a name right off the bat. So let's go to File, Save As. We'll call it your last name, your first name, your period, and interior scene. And save. Alright, so now that we have all that set up, I just want to show you where your Max projects go. If you look on your student drive, you'll see that Max has set up a folder for you called 3ds Max. If you look in there, you'll see a whole bunch of folders that do various things. But mostly you'll be working out of your Scenes folder. In the Scenes folder, you should see the first project that you made, and now the second one that we've made. Okay, now that we've got everything set up, let's start building our interior. I'm just going to start with the box like before, dragging it out and pulling it slightly down. Next, I'll change those parameters. I'm going to make it 18 by 18 by negative 0.5. That'll change it to a negative 6 inches. And this is pretty much a nice standard size for a room. Next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to flip up some walls. I'm going to go to my rotate tool. I'm going to hold down my shift key and rotate it back. I'm going to leave it as a copy, and I'm going to call it back wall. And say OK. I don't have it quite at 90 degrees, so I'll change that now. Down in the coordinates. I think what I'm going to do too is I'm going to put on my angle snaps, making things just a little bit quicker next time. I'm going to take and with my Move Select tool, I'm just going to move that back towards the back. I'm also going to go over here to my Modify tab, change the color so I can differentiate it a little bit better. I'm also going to take a moment to change the name from box to floor for the first box that we made. Okay, with that done, I'm reselecting that back wall again. We've got it in place, and I'm going to lift it up just a bit. And in fact, right now, before I do that all the way, I'm going to change the parameters. Remember, I'm on my Modify tab, and the back wall is selected. I'm going to make that only, let's say, 12 feet. By the way, did you notice you start off with a length, a width, and a height that makes perfect sense when you laid the first one down. Unfortunately, now as you turn things around, those don't quite make sense, and you might have to experiment as to which one was which. So for instance, if I look at the length, that really does not seem like my length. That seems like my height, doesn't it? If I look at my width, well, that seems to still make sense. And my height, well, that's just ridiculous. By the way, just a reminder, whenever you want to instantly undo something, you would just, while still holding down the left click button, right click, and then you'll get an instant undo. Your regular undos are just up here at the undo and the redo arrows. Okay, anyways, now that I've got this wall, I think what I'll do is I'm going to take and I'm going to shift copy that wall as well. And I'm going to call this one front wall. Now I'm going to select both walls. With my rotate tool in my top viewport, once again I'm going to shift copy by holding down the shift key and rotating that around. And for right now, I'm going to leave this as back wall and say OK. But really, I don't want to leave these as back and front wall 001. So I'll just click here to my right wall, changing that to right wall, and the other one here in the Scene Explorer to left wall. Very important to memorize the various parts. You know, this part here is being the Scene Explorer, this part here being the command panel, this up here being the main toolbar, drop-down menus, viewports, timelines, coordinates, etc. Okay, so I've got that, and now I'm going to go ahead and select the floor, and I'm going to pull it up to the top. And I'm going to call it ceiling. Okay, with these selected, we can look in here, and we can see we now have our interior space built. But there's one problem. How are we going to see into here? Well, that's pretty easy, actually. Go to the front right here on my view cube, and in the front wall, I'm just going to go over here to my Scene Explorer and click off the eyeball icon, and you can see it's now disappeared. That's pretty convenient. If I were to render it, going to my production render, remember that's the one with the lightning bolt, click on that, and you can see it doesn't show it. It's hidden from view. All right, well, with our room now built, I think what we'll do is we'll go ahead and freeze what we have. Now, let's see here. Hang on a second. I think I want to make the ceiling invisible as well. Anyways, freeze what we have by going here to the Scene Explorer. Because remember, in here I can only select what I can see. But in the Scene Explorer, I can select everything. A good way of selecting whole lists of things is to click on the thing on the top, hold down your Shift key, click on the thing at the bottom, and everything in between will be selected. From here, I'm going to right-click, go down to my Object Properties, click off or uncheck the Show Frozen in Gray, and click the Freeze, saying OK. Alright, well that's long enough for our first video. We've now made an interior. Next, we're going to put a camera in, something new.